You may wonder why God would want to remove some people from your life. People you call family, people you call friends. Why would God want to have them removed? It doesn't seem to make sense, right? But that's God for us. We are told in Isaiah 55:8 that God has declared, saying, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways." There are times when we see things turning upside down in our lives, and we begin to wonder why. Why is this happening to me? From stories of biblical characters who have had it really tough, you would see at the end that it was all part of God's plan. The hurdles, storms, and thorns weren't there just by mere chance. It was all part of God's plan. Don't forget this. Also, keep in mind that for everything that happens there is a reason. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Some successful people said that their accomplishments today were birthed from quite a number of failures. At first, they had seen those trying times to be a sign of their defeat. They had felt that the closed doors were telling them to leave, to give up on their dreams, but now they know better, that everything does truly happen for a reason. So when you begin to see people leaving your life, it will give you cause to stop and think, and even sink deep into depression, because these are people that seem to carry your heartbeat with them, and now they are no longer part of your life. Truly, this wouldn't make sense at first. It didn't make sense to me too. I had this friend, and while growing, it seemed like we were inseparable like 5 and 6. So it was really a shocking and heartbreaking period for me when I watched her leave my life just like that. We didn't quarrel, no misunderstanding of any sort, but she just left. It took me years to truly come to terms with her departure, and it took me those years to also realize that her leaving me was for a reason. Listen on. Dear you, people will always come and go. Those you expected to stick around would just leave, and you would be thrown into asking God why. But what I need to keep ringing in your mind is the bell that states that God doesn't allow things to just happen. No. From the time of creation, you would see how purposeful He carried out His creation. He didn't let anything happen by chance. He is the God who has thought so much of you to the extent that He sent His only begotten Son to die for your sake and others. John 3:16. So tell me, if He has done such a great thing, would He then leave your life to fate? No. You are a product of purpose. Say that to yourself now. Your life isn't an accident, no matter the circumstances that surrounded your birth. You were meant to reign and rule against all forces of darkness, for you are light. You are priceless, and God cherishes enough to make your future secure. Now, this is the real reason God removes people from your life. God removes people from your life because He heard conversations that you didn't hear. He saw the gathering of enemies against your life that you couldn't see. He saw the map drawn out to destroy your life. He saw their faces. He heard them whisper your name with bad luck. God knows that if He doesn't remove them from your life, they are sure to remove you from the light. These are people who would pat your back and make you feel at home with them, but deep inside, they don't wish you well. See, God removed my friend from my life because He knew that her lifestyle as she grew would oppose mine, and I, in order to please her and keep our friendship, would do some really extreme and shady things, because that was the kind of new life my friend had gotten herself into. I remember there were times I spoke to her about how happy I was to get compliments from people who thought of my dressing sense being that of simplicity and decency, and I still remember the look on her face. She rolled her eyes and said something really nasty about me lacking good dressing sense. And I knew, but I didn't want to admit, that my friend wasn't right for me anymore. Childhood was gone. I tried hanging in there, but it only made me feel worse about myself. And the thing about life is that when you start feeling inadequate, you have a high tendency to start questioning your Creator, which can breed about contempt to your God and discontentment about your life. After she left, I was dumbfounded. I saw her WhatsApp updates of her having what seemed to be a very good time with her other friends. It hurt me, but I got to heal when I discovered that God had liberated me from the chains of worldliness. For Romans 8:8 says, "Those who are in the flesh cannot please God." This removal of people from your life is happening every day because God is watching over you. However, we can make His job extremely difficult when we try to not back the bond He has cut between you and those who are after your life. That was how I was. Because of my ignorance, I didn't realize what God was doing for me, and so I still sought ways to reconnect to her. You might also want to make amends for something that is supposed to remain broken. I pray that God gives you the spiritual wisdom to know when people are meant to be out of your life. Let's consider Joseph, Jacob's boy. From chapters 37 all the way to 41 of Genesis, we are brought face to face with the story of this man who was maltreated by his very own brothers. We are told in Genesis 37:28 that he was sold to slave traders. They did this because they wanted Joseph out of their lives, but after some thought, a bulb lit in my head as to what if. Yes, what if what Joseph's brothers thought it was to their advantage was actually to Joseph's, which of course was. What if it was God's intention that Joseph be sold so that Joseph wouldn't have to deal with those set of brothers? That is, God removed Joseph's brothers from his life through that means. Are you understanding me? God knew that Joseph being with his brothers will only deter his destiny from becoming great, because when you are in the constant midst of demoralizers, you are sure to forget what it is like to dream. And so I feel like their selling him into slavery was all part of God's plan to remove them from Joseph's life. His brothers were toxic to his life, and later on we see how great dear Joseph becomes. So next time, when you see someone betraying you, rejecting, or just exiting your life without notice, know that nothing happens without a reason, and this reason falls into God's plan of making you glorious. Jeremiah 29:11. Have a good life.